Hi. We're gonna ignore the mess in my room, but I am Miranda Perez. I am currently a senior at Agnes Scott College. It is September 1st, 2020. I don't know when you're watching this. And I have decided to start a bit of a vlog, or video blog, whatever you want to call it, kind of tracking my, I guess, journey in researching and writing my senior seminar. Okay, so basically a senior seminar at Agnes is like a senior thesis in other undergraduate institutions where we kind of get together as a major. So all of my major is history, I'm a history major, so all of the history majors gather together in one class and we kind of put together, come up with our own topics, do research on it, and then produce I think like the biggest piece of work we do in our undergraduate career. So I have decided to do the trials of Maurice Mays as my topic. In August of 1919, there was a race riot or race uprising, because I know riot is not a term a lot of people like to use in that context, that occurred in Knoxville, Tennessee during the summer of 1919, which is, as many know, the same summer that several other race uprisings happen across the nation. So I kind of landed on this topic because I am personally from Knoxville, Tennessee, but this is not a historical event I knew about until I interned at East Tennessee Historical Society last summer. So the summer of 2019 was when I really learned about this happening. So I was intrigued by the fact that it was new information. It's always fun to learn new things, but also was really wondering why I'd never heard about it, because typically I guess what we would call hidden histories, there's a reason it's not wide known knowledge. And I really wanted to know about that. So I decided to explore this in my senior seminar because it seemed like a great opportunity to do so. So right now I'm in the early research process. I wish I could just take you through all of the information and tell you about it right now, but unfortunately I don't have that. And I don't want to, spread information that I'm not completely confident in. So basically I'm in the early research process. So I have pretty much all of my secondary sources I plan on using at this point. So what we have The Red Summer by Cameron McWhirter. So the summer of 1919 and the awakening of Black America. I've read most of it, not all of it. I'll get to reading the rest of it soon. And basically just goes through most all of the racial uprisings at the time, describes them, compares them, all of that. And then really just talks about the nation as a whole, which obviously to put Knoxville in the context, I needed to know everything like across the nation that was going on that kind of led to Knoxville, especially with, I'll talk about in a little bit, some of the more specific happenings in Knoxville. We have Anatomy of Four Race Riots. This one, Racial Conflict in Knoxville, Elaine, Tulsa, and Chicago. So this one goes through 4 riots. This one's a bit older. I think it came out in the 70s. And it really just contextualizes them and talks about them, so it was really a way for me to get like the whole narrative of what happened in Knoxville, so to really know what had gone down. The Heat of Red Summer, it's a short book by Robert J. Booker. This one is only about Knoxville, and this one was really hard to find and was honestly kind of expensive to get, because it's not technically in print and it is very specific and localized, so yeah, it was hard to get a hold of, but I did get it. And this one is only about Knoxville, so this is where I kind of get everything. It talks about race relations in general, up until that point in Knoxville, Tennessee, also kind of the politics around both the uprising and the trials that later happened after the uprising with Maurice Mays. And the last book I have is 1919, The Year of Racial Violence, How African Americans Fought Back. I haven't started this one. Again, we're still kind of in the early process. I'm still gathering sources. But what I'm hoping from this one, based on the title, How African Americans Fought Back, is to hear more about kind of like resistance from the Black community towards, a lot of the negative images, kind of what led to them kind of uprising. And a lot of times the uprising or the violence done by the African American community was directly caused by white mobs and them being attacked by white mobs. So I think this one would, hopefully, again I haven't read it, be more about like the perspectives of African Americans. I think I also have a few academic articles. I know there's one that has been very useful to me. Race and Murder in Knoxville 1919, The Trials of Maurice Mays by Donald F. Payne. That one really just goes through the actual trials, which is what I want to focus on, but largely because of this article. I really was interested in kind of the legal side of it, because I feel like a lot of the sources I've gone through, the uprisings and the social aspects, and I just kind of throughout my historical career have been really interested in the politics and the legal side of things. I don't know why, it's just kind of how I tend to roll. Then we have A Dark Night, The Knoxville Race Riot of 1918 by, Matthew Lakin. This was in the Journal of East Tennessee History. So this one was done more locally by a local historian, so that's really good. And was cited in almost all of my other secondary sources, at least the ones that came out after this article came out. So it's obviously a trusted source, so I'm really excited I have that. Another one, we have A Case of Prejudice, Maurice Mays, and The Knoxville Race Riot of 1919 by John Egerton. This one I think also kind of just goes through a more general kind of narrative. I think it's always important to get multiple tellings of the story, especially since, you know, with time and also just access right now during COVID to sources or primary sources, it's kind of hard to build that narrative myself. I only have until like late November to get all this done. So, and I'm really excited about a lot of these. Some of them I've already read, some of them I'm getting to or have only read partially. But I'm really excited about those secondary sources. Now for primary sources, the main one I think soon I'll have my hands on are the actual transcripts of the trials, because I think that'll end up being my primary source, like my main source. Obviously it is a primary source, but like the main source I use in my research is just a transcript from the trials to really look at what evidence they were looking at, how they were looking at it, really what went down in the course that led him to being executed, on what a lot of the secondary sources are arguing is falsified or just hearsay, things of that sort. So to really look at it myself and get my own perspective and my own opinions on the actual transcripts of the trials. And I should get those soon, because I did request, they haven't come back to me yet, a appointment with the University of Tennessee Archives here in Knoxville. And so sometime next week I should have that collection, at least have access to that collection and make copies of the transcripts and some other things. I think someone who wrote one of the articles had created that from their research, so now there's just a whole collection, which I'm really excited about. I'm also wanting at this point, I don't know if this is actually going to happen, but I'm thinking I want to look at how this case and even just the uprising itself was reported on. Like who was reporting on it, how widespread it was, things of that sort. I have been able to find some newspapers, Chattanooga newspapers, some Chicago, some Atlanta, who did report on it. So it didn't make national news, but actually reported on by a lot of different places. And I think I want to look at how Knoxville, or just like even East Tennessee, reported on it versus how other places like Atlanta or Chicago, LA, I know LA and New York also reported on it, and just to see how the different sides of it, the different places are looking at it. And I really want to get into that part of it, the kind of news reportings, because Knoxville had kind of built themselves up as, we are not that southern city that has violent race uprisings or race riots in our town. That won't happen. It doesn't happen. That's for the rest of the South. So Knoxville really wanted to be seen as different. They tried to kind of put across this image of peaceful race relations within their city, and kind of just tried to push down and ignore a lot of the major tensions between the white community and the black community in Knoxville, especially during this time right after World War I. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. I know, like, I've spoken a lot more than I expected to, so this might end up being just a series. I was thinking maybe I'd make one whole video to put, like, once I was finished, but I think I might do it in a series. So I'll have this video, and then I'll have another one, an update, probably with my first installment by the end of this month. So, we'll see. Yeah, so that's where I'm at now. I hope by the time I finish this I can be able to sit down and create a video really just talking about presenting my senior seminar. I think that would be really cool to be able to present it to you and just have one video of basically a presentation. Especially since I don't get to do my in-person presentation, I think to have a digital recording of it would be really cool. So yeah, that's it for now. I will see you next time.